Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everybody. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sauda Dunlap. She, her are my pronouns. I hail from the Republic of Brooklyn. I am a mother. I'm a sister. I'm an auntie. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. I'm a cheerleader. I am a lover of art in all forms. I love good shoes, heels, sneakers. I speak English, Ebonics, sarcasm, all of it. So, welcome to this morning's Wake Up, everybody. And I'm looking forward to being in community with you. All right. Just letting people in. Hopefully, everybody came with an open mind, open heart, and ready to engage in good conversation about Black women and our well-being. And for New York City-based folks, we're still on the high from that amazing win last night, New York Knicks. So folks may be slowly trickling in or getting up because they were out late last night celebrating. So all good. I get it. I went to bed last night with a 20 point deficit, only to wake up to screaming children, and I think it was fireworks. I'm pretty sure it was fireworks in Brooklyn. So it's pretty cool to just bear witness to history last night. Right, it looks like we're still welcoming people in. All right. Should we move on to the next slide?
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together.
All right. I love that. I love that. I love that. So again, welcome everybody who is still coming into the room, who are still coming off that last night's win from the Knicks. Again, Sauda Dunlap is my name. She, her, are my pronouns, and I hail from the Republic of Brooklyn. I am here today to talk about sister circles for Black women's well-being. So I figure I'll give you some context as to why this is my area of focus and just a bit more of who I am. So if we can go to the next slide, that'll be great. Um, I am a licensed clinical social worker. I've been part of the profession for nearly 20 years. I am also a doctor of social work student. It is the struggle I chose. And, it is necessary. I am going into my third year. I have an expected graduation date of May of 2027. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to be able to contribute to the field because there's just not enough of us writing about us. Black women are studied by other people, yet we are underrepresented in being researchers, studying ourselves, and writing about ourselves in peer-reviewed journals. And so my scholarship centers Black women and our overall well-being. And so today's conversation will engage in sister circles and the well-being of Black women. And so my positionality, clearly, I'm a Black girl, right? And so my research examines sister circles and mental health practices for Black girls, women, femmes, and the aim is to create or co-create spaces of healing and liberation. I grew up Brooklyn, East New York, in the 80s and 90s. And so I have a deep awareness of the disparities faced in our communities, the intentional divestment in East New York in the 80s and 90s. It doesn't look like that now. Like we are the next neighborhood destined for gentrification. Um, Pros, cons, a lot of cons for me. Have a lot of big feelings about it. And so growing up in East New York, that shaped my understanding of social justice, integrity, equity, and it fuels my commitment to Black people as a whole. And so my Black feminist epistemology, which is a fancy way of saying knowledge, it guides my research. And I emphasize like the lived experience of the credible messages that we are as Black women to inform how I engage in my scholarship. So again, just a little bit of why I am presenting on this topic and why it's chosen and the importance of it, especially in today's environment. We are being attacked at all fronts on existential level, community level, and an internal level within ourselves. And so we're going to engage in conversation about how what we do as Black women to support each other, to engage in well-being practices. So I want to put up a poll for us to just kind of to sort of engage the room to kind of find out who's in the space, who has heard of sister circles. It is you will there's no wrong answer. This is not a trick question. I just want to know, has anyone heard of sister circles? It's a yes or a no. And if you can answer the poll, that'll be great. So I can just get a sense of who's who, right? Or who's familiar just with the topic. All
We've got a
right.
couple of uses.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Are we done with the poll? Let's see. All
Yep.
right. So 75% of you all in the audience have heard of sister circles. And so I have a follow-up. If anybody can come off mute or put in the chat, what do you know about sister circles? What's your knowledge about it? And again, not a trick question. It is, what's your definition? What do you know about it? How do you engage in it? Right, I see.
Shauna.
Mhm.
All right. Good morning, Sissy. So happy
Hey,
to see
morning.
you. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
I this is like a huge part of my life. And you're an extension of that.
Shay.
So since I was a kid, I've been part of collectives where women and girls have been from cheerleading, growing up and being on teams, leading those teams. Like I was a captain of a cheerleading team in high school, being part of choral groups where it was all women voices. I wasn't a Girl Scout, but I think you were. Were you a Girl Scout?
I was a Girl Scout.
I was like, I vaguely remember you sharing
Yeah,
that with me.
yeah.
I run rites of passage programming for girls, for women. You and I are part of a triad, which I talk about and brag about all the time, where we're all 10, the three of us are 10 years apart. So, in the majority of the spaces that I'm in, women lead and co create and design and are the innovators in that space from reproductive justice work to just teams that are not just, but teams that are doing work around artistry and artivism, like lots of women in my life influencing who I am and how I am. And I'm in the field of social work, which is dominated by women, and I'm complete.
Thank you, Shawnee. Thank you. And then, yes, I honor our triad. And I love that I get to be the baby in that triad. I am one of 17 that I know of. Might be more. My pops is out there. But I get to be the young one in this group. And so I cherish it, I honor it, and I soak it up. I soak up the knowledge. I learn so much. So, and I'm looking at the chat. I see Professor Marilyn says support. Florence says that they can't say they know a lot about them, but it's okay because that's what we're going to discuss today. All right. So you can move to the next
Um,
slide, please. Oh, go ahead.
Laura has her hand raised.
Oh, okay. Please.
Grand Rising, Soda, thank you so much for me. What I know about Sister Circle is a sacred space, very intimate space where women, sisters meet to
Mhm.
share with each other their stories and, to help each other on their healing journey.
Yep.
That's my experience over the years. I'm complete. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate that. Yeah, so let's get into it, right? So again, for the basis of what my scholarship is focused on, I had to come up with a definition, right? Because when you're doing research, you have to define the issue that you're working on in order to be able to study it. And so just based on the hundreds of articles that I've pillaged through so far, uh, what I've come to define sister circles as are three or more Black women who gather to create supportive spaces for each other. These circles are designed to foster connection, support, and healing. Um, so Sistah circles, that's the colloquial spelling and pronunciation versus sister with the ER. They have similarities in that both concepts are defined by gathering groups of women who come together over shared common experiences or interests. So sister circles aren't, the name isn't new, as some of you have shared. But what we know about it within peer review journals is that most of the focus has been on health focus, right? And so a nurse practitioner, a social worker may gather people around to provide support around a shared illness such as cancer, diabetes, heart disease. And the purpose of those circles is to provide like intervention and help with recovery. And so there are other common interest spaces where we come together to talk about books or movies, even in the workplaces. What differentiates the sister circles, the colloquial term, right? It refers to it's in three distinct categories, right? Again, I mentioned health focus, right? The second one is professional, where like communities of Black women come together to in a work environment or academic environment to collaborate around institutional challenges, that coworker, that supervisor that's getting to you. Sister circles may help to support in moving up the corporate ladder, or providing guidance and support. And then the third group, the social group, right? Where the circles are composed of Black women, typically friends, who have established social connections. They may deepen their bond through supportive spaces, as was mentioned, healing, resource sharing, mutual aid is a big one, and just networking. Um, and so what I found in my literature review so far is that despite the significance of sister circles in Black women's lives, we remain significantly underrepresented in those peer-reviewed journals, right? Like those fancy journals that you'll see reference in news articles. Um, so it's not like this work hasn't been getting done. It's just that we haven't been represented in within this realm, within the peer review journals, and that has implications for how interventions are created for us. So again, it's the reason why I'm doing this work, because we deserve interventions specific to who we are and who our experiences are. And so the social aspect of a circles, it provides us refuge from complex environments, um, the ways of the world, right? Systems of oppression. So there's racism, sexism, xenophobia, right? It's also a place for us to come together, right? It's not just all doom and gloom. We talk about celebrations. We share wisdom. There's a playfulness within these circles. And the conversations stretch, like they're long, they're wide, they're varied. A couple of weeks ago, I had, my another one of my sister circles, somebody just needed support. And so we just showed up, and we just sat and talked for like 8 hours, like well into the night. Some of the best conversations that I've ever had have been curated within those special places and those bonds with the beautiful women that I get to share my human experience with. And so we get to be in these spaces and it allows us to like to drop our armor, so we don't have to be so much on guard. We get to relax, we get to be at ease with each other. There's a rhythmic nature to just being in spaces with each other. And it's a way for us to find restoration. And so what's the one way to do that, right? We turn into ourselves, because we resonate with each other's experiences. And so, as most researchers do, right, we have to provide a historical context for how we got here, right? So, next slide, please. All right. So, whew, that picture always like just moves me because it's so jarring. But it's necessary for us to look at and bear witness to. So understanding the need for these spaces requires us to acknowledge the long history of Black women struggles from chattel slavery. So we were seen as the primary breeders. We were instrumental to the perpetuation of slavery, rather than as individuals or rights or agency. Black women's wombs were the foundation for the wealth in the United States. That is how Wall Street exists, right? It was our wombs that created the labor to produce money for this country. And so our reproductive capacity was exploited to produce more enslaved children, providing a continuous supply of labor without regard for maternal health or any other desires. Black women were brutalized and bred. Um, And I'm intentionally using that language because, we all know what's happening in this country with the erasure of true stories of what has happened to Black folks in this country. But the language underscores the violent and dehumanizing treatment Black women endured. We were subjected to physical abuse, sexual abuse, forced breeding, all to serve the economic interests of those who were in power. And our bodies were treated like property. And it was designated solely for the reproduction of labor, right? The more um, babies that could be produced, the more labor, the more money, right? The primary source of income or the primary source of money in this country was cotton or rice, right? And so our babies were often sold. The children born to enslaved women faced tragic fate. So they were taken from their mothers. They were sold to other slaveholders. Um, the separation was intentional, to sever familial bonds, to maintain that, system of control, and to maximize the economic gains. So if a slaveholder had a number of women that were born, they can sell that person to another slave owner who can produce, and that woman, that child, that little girl who then will become a woman, will produce more labor, right? And then what you're seeing here on this screen is that enslaved women were often compelled, forced to nurse their enslavers' children, right? So we literally mothered and fed this country. And so it reinforced their roles as reproductive laborers and caregivers without consent, of course, right? And it further dehumanized them, reducing their motherhood to service and exploitation, all to the benefits of slave holders and their families. Um, and so hiring a wet nurse signaled status. I tried to find the name of the woman in this picture to honor her humanity because that is important. This is a real person. But unfortunately, with many of the old images, the names aren't connected. But I will honor her humanity by continuing to share her story and what she has endured. The next slide, please.
It's so interesting how these people did not see us as people,
Yeah,
but saw us fit enough to take care of their children. That is
right.
how I understand it. I
Yeah,
still, no matter how many academic articles I read, and no matter how many conversations like this we have, I
yeah.
just don't understand. Shawnee has a hand raised. Sorry.
Yes. Go ahead, Shani.
Yeah. Sis, it may come up later in the session, so I hope I'm
Yeah.
not stealing thunder. But because of what you just laid out as far as foundation for the origins of the insane, inhumane treatment of our people, especially women and our wombs. When I a few years ago, when I was designing a restorative practice for what happened with J. Marion Sims,
Mhm.
the false uh, father of gynecology, that lie, that narrative. I started to read extensively about women and their wombs and their roles on the plantation. Um, and so, one of the things that I was so grateful to see, but it wasn't surprising, is that the women were at the center of keeping shit in order on the plantation. While they were being tortured, raped, like all of these heinous acts perpetrated against them. They kept them children in line. They kept the men in line. They would be also gathering and secretly creating ways to get at the folks that were oppressing and enslaving them. And it's amazing how much not literature, literature too, because it fuels literature, but material, like the narratives of enslaved, just different material that has been gathered around the resistance and revolutionary acts of women specifically, because they had so much access in different ways, poisoning people, blocking pregnancies, like amazing. It looks like you were already going to share this, but I
Yeah.
wanted to talk about it because you brought up our experience with enslavement.
No, no, thank you for bringing that in the space. Like the ingenuity of us, right? The secret languages that we were able to develop amongst each other, which still exists, y'all, right? You ever been in a space with a bunch of Black women? Words haven't been exchanged, but nonverbal communication is happening, and we will have a whole conversation, and nobody would be the wiser of anything that was said, right? Like there's roots in chattel slavery that created the context for us to be able to do that, right? And that we've carried over until today, right? Like it's so powerful how many things that we have retained and how we have created spaces for ourselves to see ourselves and to also care for community as well. Black women, we don't think about ourselves in a fragmented way. We think about ourselves as part of a larger ecosystem of people who we support. It is the collective care that we provide that keeps communities viable, right?
Florence says, if we are not human, not good for anything, they entrusted their precious treasures to our care.
Right.
And she also says, that boggles my mind, and I'm complete.
Yeah, that's the irony of it, right? So the stories that we hear about who we are, the things that they tell us, versus documented facts that says otherwise, and information that has been passed down from the elders within our families through storytelling, different forms of art. Like all of those are part of our knowledge base, our epistemologies, and that's something that we have to trust for ourselves. Like we don't have to rely on the European construct to tell us what is real and what is not. We have it already, right? It has sustained our communities. We do that really well. All right, so I want to move on just to briefly touch on the civil rights and womanist movement. I intentionally did not put feminist movement. It's still the previous slide that you were on. Sorry about that. Um, Feminism largely defined or centered white middle class women, a womanist movement which centered the experiences of Black women and other people of color is more expansive of the experiences of women in this country. And so for the civil rights movement, yep. For the civil rights movement, Black women played a vital role. We're organizers, we're leaders. Again, this was a through line from, when we were on plantations. We're activists, we're fighting for justice and equality. And some of the key figures, names that we may not, that may not be necessarily like in the zeitgeist. Fannie Lou Hamer, Ella Baker, of course, Rosa Parks. There's Septima Clark. There's so many sheroes who aren't brought to the forefront, but they were there planning in the background. Planning the logistics and the outcomes and the next steps about how we get free in this country. And so, again, womanism emerged as a response to mainstream feminism, and it centered our experiences. Black feminist theory was formalized during this time, and I say formalized because ancestors such as Sojourner Truth, from the woman suffrage movement, and Ida B. Wells, who was a journalist, also a social worker, they both articulated the struggle by highlighting the intersection of Black women, Blackness, and being a woman. The Combahee River Collective, it was a pioneering Black feminist, lesbian, and socialist organization, and it emphasized the importance of addressing race, gender, class, sexuality, um, and all of the other systems that we live in. So Patricia Collins, Audre Lorde, Charlene McCray, who was the former First Lady of New York City, they were all prominent figures in the collective. And intersectionality, which was coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, recognize how multiple identities of oppression intersects in what Patricia Collins calls the matrix of domination. Um, it prioritized the voices of marginalized people. And so again, within this movement, the womanist movement, and within civil rights, it challenged both racial and gender biases because there was no hierarchy of oppressions, as Lorde shared. It broadened civil rights and feminist movements within this country and advocated for a holistic liberation of who we are as people, not just women, but as people in this country. Because again, when we get to planning as Black women, we think about the benefits of everybody as a whole, not just ourselves. Yeah. Next slide, please. All right. So I don't know if there are any folks who are part of sororities in the house, but we'll get to that in a sec. I just wanted to highlight some prominent sister circles, right? Sororities began in 1908 with the founding of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated at Howard University, literally in direct response to racial and gender discrimination. We couldn't join them other people sororities. They didn't want us. And so again, we do what we do best. We came together. We formed our own groups. These organizations are part of the Divine Nine, which includes fraternities, and they were created to support spaces for academic achievement, sisterhood, community service, which is a pillar in each of these sororities, all to uplift the Black community as a whole. So not just Black women, the Black community as a whole. The other sororities, because I don't want no smoke here, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated were all founded in the early 20th century with similar missions, all rooted in sisterhood, community, support, healing, liberation, and has evolved over the years. Other supportive Black women's networks, you all may be familiar with the Links, which is still um, functioning today. It was founded in Philadelphia in 1946 by Margaret Roswell Hawkins and Sarah Strickland Scott. Um, the organization was founded to respond to the needs and aspirations of Black women. Because again, we're coming together, we're seeing, societies being cultivated, and we wanted in. And so we couldn't get in, so we created our own, the ingenuity of us. And it's a commitment to community service, education, and cultural enrichment. We want to make sure we staying connected and not losing recipes. Um, the Order of the Eastern Stars is another one that was founded in 1850 by Rob Morris, an American Freemason who created the parallel organization, the Masons, which is the female relatives of the Master Masons. The next slide, please. Um, This one near and dear to me. I didn't realize when I was younger how much I was exposed to like these rich spaces. So that arrow there, that lady, that is my grandmother on the paternal side, Beatrice Waters. She was part of a women's group, Key Women of America. It's a nonprofit founded in 1954 by Bertha Helms Harris. It was initially formed to help foster and adoptive children find homes in New York City, but has since expanded to support numerous community projects. And so the organization provides services such as food, scholarships, donations to other nonprofits, and they have various chapters within the states, but then also international branches as well. She became an ancestor in 2011. We called her mom. She was a registered nurse. She was a head nurse in the adult psychiatric unit in Kings County Hospital Center for over 30 years. She also taught LPN courses and gave back to the Brooklyn community. And so I grew up bearing witness to the power of these supportive networks that centered Black women. And so, it's sort of like my calling, what pushed me here to engage in this scholarship, because I've always been surrounded by networks of Black women, and just seeing how they use these social support groups to uplift each other, to support each other, to call people to call each other in, if there was unsavory behavior. But what was clear to me was that it was founded in love and support, and that certainly benefits our overall well-being. All right, so I'm going to pause again. And I'm going to ask, right? So now that we have more we have the historical foundation for sister circles, we have some examples of sister circles. So I'm going to ask for the second poll to be put up, right? Is anyone currently part of Black women's networks or circles? It could be sororities, it could be church groups, alternative legacy groups. It doesn't have to be formalized, because again, it's social, so it's expansive, right? You get to create it. Again, not a trick question, no wrong answers.
Veronica has a hand raised.
Go ahead, Veronica.
Grand Rising, good morning.
Good morning.
I've been a member of Sisters to Sister, which is a breast cancer support group,
Nice.
since 2009 when it was initiated. And I call out the name of um, Rita, Dr. Rita Strickland, who has just completed her second doctorate in how we use creative crafts for healing. Black women do. And she started, she and another sister, Nell Jones, started Women Ma for Quilters, which is a sister circle that no longer exists, but it was really a powerful thing to come into the 2000s as a quilter in a circle. And I'm complete.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. All right. Can we close the poll? Let's see what we got here. Yep. So about nearly 60% of you all are part of a circle. And thank you, Laura, for sharing that. You beat me to my follow-up question. If anybody can come off mute and share their experience. I know Shawnee shared earlier. But I'm wondering, for those who did respond in the affirmative, what need does it meet for you? Because it's serving a purpose. I can't see hands, so if my peeps could support me here to see if anybody's raising their hand or anything in the chat.
Hi, it's Grand Rising Cassandra. So I'm a part of a couple different ones. A lot of them are like political spaces or civic engagement spaces. Also, some is just for coming and just being together and resting, or just having conversations with Black women together. So they serve different purposes.
Got it. Thank you for that. Thank you,
Thank
Cassandra.
you.
Yeah.
Florence has her hand raised.
Uh, Grand Rising. Yeah, I never really called what I'm doing or the people I'm with. I never said it was a sister circle, but I realized it is. We're about just eight. It started with about 8 women, but all we do is meet every week and support each other in whatever we are doing and pray with each, like, pray for each other, like what is your win for this week, how is your life progressing, and so forth. And now I'm really seeing that it really is, a sister circle, because I
Yeah.
look forward to it every week. And yeah, it really helps, um, in a certain kind of a way, helps you to feel, and me as an immigrant in this country, then it helps me to feel somewhat connected and
Mhm.
supported.
Thank you for that, Florence. Yeah. And that, like, you have just shared the benefits of being in spaces where you belong. And it does have there's a science behind it, right? Like there's a neuroscience behind us connecting, belonging, being in community with each other, particularly as an immigrant coming into the country, and having a place to connect with people who have similar backgrounds, shared history, where you get to be at ease, where you don't have to um, translate your experience. You don't have to translate language. You can just be, right? And there's a guard that you get to let down, that may not exist in other spaces. And so look at that. I love this, right? Like you've been doing this as just part of your practice. And this is what I'm studying. So that warms my heart that you were able to just identify this collective space that you have been a part of that does impact your well-being. And so we're about to get into the health portion, which is pretty heavy.
Theo has her hand raised as well.
Go ahead, please. Are you there?
Mute.
Oh, okay.
You hear me?
Yes, I hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I'm on my phone and it's playing. I belong to several groups and have for many years. I belong to National Council on Staten. I live in Staten Island, and it's a Black women's group, and we do a lot of community service and things like that, and mentoring for youth. I belong to LKM, which is a sorority, an adult sorority.
Yeah.
Um, I belong to several groups, and
Yeah.
each of them has its own uh, area
Yep.
of comfort and well-being, and it keeps me active
Yeah.
as a young person.
Yeah.
Not um, so, and if you're a single person, it's company.
Absolutely. Yeah. Keeping you connected. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I love that, being part of multiple circles that serve different needs, but ultimately the outcome is engagement, is support, it's community. Yeah.
We've got some activity in the chat.
Mhm.
Um, Niger says community and safe space in hostile corporate spaces. Sequoia says, I am part of the Eastern Star Sisterhood, and it provides space for me to give back to my community and also build structure and strength in me. Cassandra says, Fast Girls, they provide safe spaces to just be. Jametta says, Writing Heals Writing Group. That's the group she's a part of, community she's a part of. Cassandra also says, Win with Black Women Florida, Black Women's Roundtable, Colored Girls Lab, and Black Girls Venture. And wow, you guys are part of some amazing communities, and I'm complete.
I know somebody just put in the chat an adult sorority. Yeah. Do you want to come off mute and share, or is it just an inquiry?
It was just an inquiry. I didn't really want to know. That's the first time that I'm
Yeah.
hearing that term. So it's interesting to me because I am single and I am like a solitary person at
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
And I do find comfort and value in sister circles. And I often attend um, Robin, Robin St. Clair's sister
Hmm.
circles and full moon circles and so forth.
Yeah.
And I always find value in those.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank
Listen,
you.
we get to create whatever spaces that we feel are necessary for us, right? And we get to call it whatever it is that we want to call it. Right? Doesn't have to be formalized as a sorority, but it can have very the characteristics. And so I love it. I love the creativity and the spaces that we get to curate for ourselves here. Yeah. I want to move to the health uh, slides really quickly. Um, which again will demonstrate, right? Like just like the utility of these spaces. So historically, like I've shared, um, we face significant systemic violence, stereotyping, marginalization, the stereotypes such as the mamie, right? The caretaker, right? Take care of everybody. We are seen as resilient, strong, the labor mules. Um, the Jezebel, hypersexual, all of these perceptions of Black women reduced our identities and it dismisses our full humanity. And these misconceptions have also contributed to health disparities, right? Social exclusion and limited support systems. So while maternal health isn't included within this slide, because I just needed to reduce it for time, I do need to mention it because, as we all know within this space, it is a prominent statistic for Black women. In New York City, the statistics are we are eight more, Black women are 8 times more likely to die from pregnancy complications than their white counterparts. Our maternal health outcomes remain a critical concern. It is a public health crisis. They show alarming disparities and it impacts our overall well-being and it has a ripple effect on our communities. We face higher rates of maternal mortality, economic hardship. We are over-indexed in health disparities that's illustrated by this chart from high blood pressure, um, uh, cancer. We are diagnosed with cancer at a later stage in comparison to our white counterparts. We are over-indexed in diabetes, and that's based on the accessibility that we have to food, to healthcare access. Just some self-disclosure. I also am managing high blood pressure. I have a family history of diabetes and heart disease and autoimmune diseases. I have a sister who is finally in recovery and remission from breast cancer. She was diagnosed late stage triple negative breast cancer, one in the aggressive form. And so 2 years ago, it looked very bleak and dark. But the spaces that we curated for her born sister circle, because there's a lot of us. We have seven. There's seven of us total sisters, but then also her circle of friends who she has known since high school. just helped to serve as the medicine that she needed to get to a place of remission. So I just want to move to the job market, the labor market, again, to just to illustrate what we are up against within this environment. Um, the current state of Black women in the labor force, we are often the first to get hit by a crisis because of the intersections of racism and sexism. We will be the last to benefit from recovery efforts when they happen, and it has a deep impact on the economic stability and certainly our overall well-being. So, for context, um, we no longer get those monthly job reports from the federal government. Remember that when at one point when we had a functioning government, every month the Secretary of Labor would share what the current status is of people who are employed. So we would get a number on how many people are employed, how many people are unemployed, um, and the administration stopped reporting it, right? Because the numbers weren't good. They were ungood. And just because it's not reported doesn't mean that it disappears. There are people behind those numbers. And so I'm just pulling up my references here because I want to get it correct. So, according to the Federal Reserve of St. Louis, the unemployment rate for Black women stands at 5.16% as of mid 2026, right? In 2025, we were hovering around 7.3. I've seen articles as high as like 7.8. And again, because our government is no longer sharing this information, we don't have an accurate number. And so I would say that it's probably far higher than what's being reported, right? And so over the last year, Black women experienced substantial employment losses, driven largely by the public sector cutbacks, and the scaling back of DEI initiatives. And so, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, Black women have had the highest labor force participation rates of any demographic of women, right? Which is connected to like the foundation of this country. We were the labor diggers, if you will, right? And so this statistic is not surprising. We represent roughly 12% of the federal workforce. And the federal jobs have been cut. Remember the Department of Government Efficiency or inefficiency, I would call it Doge, where Elon Musk was over that department for a number of months, not even a full year. And it did irreparable harm to our communities, right? The purpose of Doge was supposedly to find cost savings for America. And what it did is destabilize our communities. And they were proved wrong, like as with most things within this administration, right? We're being held together by duct tape, staples, right? A glue gun, right? And maybe a prayer. But this is the environment in which we are existing in right now. And so the lack of employment, which is a social determinant of health, it's a non-social determinants of health, it's a non-medical factor that impacts outcomes, again, overall well-being. And it impacts communities. So I found another statistic because the state of Maryland has been largely impacted because those government jobs. If anybody is from the DMV area, you know this, right? The massive federal job cuts have disproportionately sidelined Black women. And there's been a ripple effect, triggering severe economic and infrastructure crisis in Maryland. And the fallout threatens the stability of the Black middle class and entire communities. And so it's a cascading effect on local economies. The governor in Maryland has been really responsive to providing as much support as possible for the constituents within Maryland, but particularly for the Black community, Black women, because we historically don't have wealth. It will take at least a generation or two for us to recover, right? That's a lot, right? Like we've worked really hard to make all of these economic gains, and to stabilize our own communities, and to have that taken away within a matter of 18 months is devastating, right? And it's impacting, just how we function. And so I just want us to sit with that information. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot of information to download between the health statistics and the labor market. But it's important information to understand so we know um, uh, what environment that we are living in, that impacts our well-being, right?
We've got some activity in the chat. Um, okay, Florence says that report directly affected the stock markets. Cassandra says he's still in the business of healing, praying for a full and speedy recovery. Helen says this discussion has opened my eyes to looking into joining more sister circles. Cassandra says 400 plus Black women were robbed of their careers. Oof. Florence says, I guess that may be one of the main reasons uh, it's not being reported presently. That's the job report. Veronica says, I am a triple negative survivor of 17 years. She is invited to our group, Sisters Supporting Sisters Breast Cancer Support Group. Laura says, I am part of a meditation Reiki healing community that focuses on supporting and sharing towards spiritual enlightenment and transformation. And I'm complete.
Thank you. Thank you. Veronica, I'll follow up with you. I'll share the information with my sister. I appreciate it. Thank you. Um, yeah, if we can move on to the next slide. I know we're coming up on the top of the hour, so I'm just being mindful of time. I was gonna pose a question, but I think, the chat has been really lively. And so I want to just define well-being versus wellness, because people tend to use the terms interchangeably. And so for wellness, it's action oriented. It's the habits that we create. Think of meal preparation, think of going to the gym, financial wellness, so investing, saving, mental and emotional, think of engaging in therapeutic activities, not just talk therapy, the arts, singing, music, engaging in spiritual practices, and rituals. That's a you thing, right? That's action oriented. Well-being is the overall quality of your life, right? Mentally, spiritually, socially, emotionally, financially. And these are fully integrated into your being. And it means you have adaptive coping skills and that you have a sense of belonging. And, these, again, with all of the various systems of oppression that we are swimming through on a daily basis, we have somehow managed to continuously curate spaces of well-being. I found this quote from Ava DuVernay, which I have on my whiteboard in this office. I think Black women when Black women are together, a sacred space can be conjured. And I truly do believe that. Like, Black women save me daily. And just based on the testimonies that you all have shared, it is the same, right? Like, we may not have initially defined it that way, but it is serving this purpose to improving, to combating those health statistics that we saw. The mutual aid and that resources that we share amongst each other, serves as a gap for the financial stresses that we are under. And so I am reminded on a daily basis the ingenuity of who we are as Black women, and what we continuously create for ourselves. Um, I know we're at the top of the hour, so I want to name that. And I do just really, really briefly just want to invite folks in, um, around how they define well-being. And also just thinking about like what we can dream of for ourselves. Like what do we need and what do we desire, as we, just continue to wade through the water, of this tumultuous time. Because what has been consistent, through our time within this country is each other, right? That is the medicine. Like we have been our own medicine, and it is proven. And my hope, with my research is to prove, to have documented evidence, that these spaces that we create for ourselves, do, benefit and impact, our overall well-being. But I do want to invite the group to share, like, how do you define well-being?
I define well-being as it's holistic in my life right now. It's wellness in mind, body, and soul. I realize that if one thing is out of balance in my life, that means I'm not okay. So I've been trying my best to make sure I'm taking care of my health and making sure I pray as much as I can, and also doing things I love, and also doing things that make my life incredibly easier. So that way I am okay in every aspect of my life. Some things are out of balance a little bit, but like I'm working towards being centered in all spaces. And because if I'm centered in one space, that means I can see where other places are out of balance. So I believe that well-being is it's a holistic practice that I'm trying to take very seriously right now. And I'm complete.
Yeah. Thank you, Malika. Yeah. Yeah.
Veronica has a hand raised.
Go ahead, Veronica.
This brings me back to the fact that we've always had circles. In the book, All the Women of the Bible,
Mm,
Diane, the story is Diana talks. They speak of Diana being in a tent, in the red tent, to release her monthly cycle, and in that cycle, she's with other women in the cycle that are experiencing menstruation. And so this is a historic behavior.
yep,
We just didn't start this. It's in our DNA.
absolutely. It's in our DNA. That's a bar.
Yes.
Thank you, Veronica. Yeah, yep, absolutely.
We've got some shares in the chat. Laura says, I am okay. Wait, shared that already. Okay, she already shared that. Sequoia says balance and peace. The thing that's how she defines well-being. And K Sweetness says, feeling the energy of the elders who know the importance of sharing their wisdom with those who came after them. Thank you, strong Black woman.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's so much knowledge in this room, right? And we know what we need. We are intuitive and we provide it to each other. And that's the power to being in these spaces with each other, right? And it's on a continuum. It's not a one-time thing. It's a practice. It's integrated into everything that we do. Because sometimes we get into, our heads about, doing it the right way. It's like, no, it's curated for exactly what it is that you need. What I was doing in my 20s is different from what I was doing in my 30s, and certainly, in my 40s. And so we are continuously upgrading, what we need within, the respective spaces that we belong to, which makes them, that much more powerful because it's malleable, right? Like, we are constantly evolving, based on whatever the group brings. So I can't tell if any more hands are raised or if there's anything else, because I do want to move to my last slide, which is my focus.
Got a couple more shares in the chat. Laura says the hatred of Black women is very obvious by the aggressive reaction of the president towards female journalists. Helen says spiritual awareness slash foundation, self-care, community, and love. I guess that's what she defines as well-being.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
And then Cassandra says, well, when I'm at my least resistance, like the waves that rock me to sleep hours after a long day of floating or playing in the ocean. Ooh, that sounds nice.
I know, I love that imagery, right? Like it makes me think of the Orisha, the goddess Yemaya, right? Like the ocean and the waves and how the goddess supported us through the transatlantic slave trade and still made it into the culture here in the Americas in this new land. And how that's very integrated into practices that we engage in as community. So I love that imagery of the waves and that constant movement, which is right, like intuitive or integrated within how sister circles work. Yeah. All right. All right. So the last slide, if there are no more. So just really quickly, um, So, um, like I said at the top of the presentation, I am a Doctor of Social Work student at NYU. It is the struggle I chose. But again, like I've shared, it is part of me being able to um, be part of the canon of work that's out there about Black women, but me using my lived experience to inform, the information that's out there about us. And so I am conducting focus groups and exploratory research to study the impact of sister circles on our well-being as Black women. It is a very it's just rigid study for now because I need to get through this program. There will be much more after I graduate next year. And so my focus is on, I'm doing a comparative focus on youngins, I'll call them. So that's age 19 to 29, and then ages 30 to 45. I want to be able to compare what we discuss within our sister circles. Because, like I said, what we needed in our 20s is different from what we need in our 30s and our 40s. So groups continuously evolve. And my intention is to be able to study, is to be able to publish this work within, hopefully by the end of the year, top of 2027. I want to be able to, um, I want to be able to include this in peer-reviewed journals to help inform how interventions are made for us within the organizations that service Black women. And so here's my request. If you fit within this age range and you are interested, I strongly encourage you to sign up to complete the interest form. The groups will take place at the end of July in Brooklyn. Um, I had to be specific, Sequoia. I couldn't go past it, right? Like not for now. Like after this program is older, definitely. I wanted to expand to, um, ladies in their 70s and 80s because they have so much to say and we have so much to learn from them. But for the purpose of this study, right? This study. This is the age range that I'm looking for. I just put the interest form in the chat as well. Um, there's been a number of people who've signed up so far, but I haven't gotten a lot of responses for the 19 to 29 age group. So if you fit within that age group, if you know anybody within that age group who meet this criteria, I would truly, truly appreciate you sharing and sharing with your networks, sharing with family, friends who would be interested in being part of these focus groups. There is compensation. I got NYU to push it to $50 instead of the $25 because, like I shared, y'all, like we need our coin. And I value the time that people will be able to sit and contribute to these focus groups. So it's important for me to make sure that people are compensated for their knowledge. My intention is also to share the results of um, of the focus groups with participants as well. So that is my request. That is my ask, and I truly appreciate the space that's been created here. This has been so um, just warm my heart. So thank you so much. I'm complete.
Wait, I have a question for you.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you so much for today.
yeah,
Um, this is my first time hearing about sister circles. I've
mhm,
never heard it before. I don't think,
yeah,
yeah, I don't think I've heard of that in South Africa. We don't have that. We just have, I guess my
yeah,
sister circle is my friends. So I've never been in a support group, never been around it. So this was super interesting for
yeah.
me to learn about and the historical context of it because I didn't know that. What is your what's your most powerful memory from one of your spaces, from one
Oh,
of your sister circle spaces?
there's so many. There. Ugh, I'll share two, right? Shawnee mentioned earlier that I get to be the baby in that triad. And so, um, we meet on a monthly basis. There's myself, who's a baby, there's Lynn, and then there's Shawnee, who's the middle child. Right? And we've shared, we've probably been meeting for the last decade, Shawnee, I feel like, or more. Um, when Shamani transitioned, the way that we showed up for each other, like we were all devastated. And what I found is that just showing up and being present, not really saying words, but just being present was just so powerful, and helpful. And just for us to be there for our girl. And I feel like there's a small group of people who can pull Shawnee in because she do the most. Um, and so every once in a while, like we'll check in on her, like, are you eating? Did you sleep? Did you say no? Right? And it serves as like the ultimate accountability space. Um, my second memory, I would say it's from another sister circle who um it's a group of social workers. We grew up as like baby social workers. For you all who don't know, like being a licensed clinical social worker, um, like Black women are a small percentage. I think it's less than 5% in the country. And I think it's the same for New York State. So, and then in New York City, which is a big city, 8 to 10 million people here, um, we find each other, right? Like it's big, but it's small. Like if you are in any part of like in the mental health field, right? It is designed that way, right? And you are primarily servicing Black and Brown people. You like there are 2 degrees of separation from us knowing each other. And again, like that, we need those. We find each other because we are underrepresented, and so there was a group of 5 of us who we grew up within this profession, and we served as support to each other, professionally first, and then it moved to social. And so one of our good friends was diagnosed with cancer at the top of COVID. She was in remission for maybe 18 months or so. And then somewhere in mid 2023, the cancer returned, but it was in her spine. And she succumbed to the illness at the top of 2024. But during that time, she not only had to fight the illness, she had to fight the systems. It was an educated woman who had both a clinical social worker. She was a licensed clinical social worker. She was also, she had an MPH, a master's in public health. And she still struggles with finding supports for herself, navigating the medical industrial complex and the mental health industrial complex. And so she fell on tough times financially. Um, and like we saw our girl just like kind of fading away. And so we um we just we found a trauma therapist, and we just paid for it for her. We would circle in and out and bring her food. We would show up. My children would come with me to visit her. My daughter would do her nails. Um, Within her last year, she made the decision to stop treatment because it was impacting the quality of life. And what Danielle Lorraine Thomas, I want to call her name and bring her in, she taught me how to live. She would just she was just on vacation. Like every time I turned around, she's like, I'm in Germany, I'm in Bahamas, right? Like she was scheduled to go to Ghana in January of 2024, but she became too ill. I went to Kenya in 2024 with my sisters, and she's like, I'm gonna come with you. And I'm like, wait. And she's like, and you should go to Bali with me after you go from Kenya. And I'm like, girl, how am I gonna pay for it? She was like, a payment plan. So, but she was all about like just, holistic practices and us just loving on each other. Like Dee loved Black women. She loved the community of us. She was also a Delta, so she had that larger network, but this group of the five of us, like we were so tight. We are still tight, the remaining four. But the love that we were able to provide to her and to fill in the gaps that the medical industrial complex and the mental health industrial complex did to her, like that will always be like a moment, just one of my proudest moments. And just I'm honored that I got to be able to support my friend as she transitioned.
That is so amazing and special, and I think we can all feel her spirit in the space today. And I know that she's giving you the strength and all the love you need to carry this message out today. And if anyone here in the space has a sister or just a woman that they really love that has transitioned, maybe write their name in the chat and let's honor them in this space. And thank you for sharing this. Thank you so much. And you just taught me how to honor my sisters too. I'm gonna call my friend today and check on her.
Please
Check if she's
call her.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check on her today. I'm sure she has her hand raised.
Okay. So, I think you know this about me, Saud. Many others do. I'm about the moment that we're in. So, who is going to be participating with these circles so that you can support a Black woman with manifesting her doctoral degree and take her life and work to the next level? Who's in it for real, for real? Like you see this information on the screen. There's compensation, and I love that exchange because money is energy. We talk about that all the time. You'll receive a love offering, and that 19 to what age did you say, Sissy? 19,
19 to 45,
19 to 45. But you said there's a range that you don't have as many. So
19 to 29.
all right. So I know that maybe not Veronica, her daughters are older, but there are sisters in this space that have nieces, cousins, daughters in that age range. So who's going to support um, the manifestation of the outcomes that Sauda is seeking by making an effort to share this with the sisters in your circle. And I mean that the way I said it. The other piece that I wanted to ask about, and Sauda, there are what was I just thinking about? There are sisters in that age range that are part of the Speak Move Change Collective. So I'll do what I need to do before I go away to
Yeah.
support so you can manifest that because I won't be around when you're doing this. So that, and if you answered this question, I missed it because I'm moving around. I have an event today. But what are you mentioned all the things that we deal with as far as health, the high blood pressure, you talked about your own journey, your family. What are the mental health and uh, mental, emotional, and physical health benefits to being part of a sister circle? And maybe
Yeah.
you're looking for that inside of the research, but what have you discovered already?
Yeah, what I've discovered already, and thank you for the question, and just the manifestation of more participants, that there is a place for belonging, that people have, right? That community, that connection. And if you've been reading the news or hearing in the news lately, COVID has created this gap of people being in community with each other. And so, what we've done really well as Black women is continuously curate these spaces where there's a direct impact on our health and our overall well-being. And so, we'll see an improvement in high blood pressure, right? We'll see Black women more likely to go get screenings for cancer or diabetes. So they engage in like these health practices that will extend the longevity of their lives by being in these communal spaces, by being able to share these resources and continuously share information amongst each other. So it's like there's a true ripple effect of just being in community with each other. The stress that's lifted, when mutual aid is provided. So say if somebody couldn't pay a bill, like Danielle couldn't afford therapy at the time. So the stress that she was under just worrying about, being able to pay for support, it was released once we were able to take care of it for her. And again, anybody who knows like the stress hormone cortisol impacts our organs, right? And so being able to reduce the cortisol levels helps us overall in our well-being.
We've got some shares in the chat. Veronica says hospital systems are being systematically destroyed around the United States. And we have a share from Facebook today. Martine says, hold on, where did it go? Martine says, well being is balance and harmony. I am part of the Be the Tree alumni, which has been a refreshing and awesome experience as I have not had a good experience I've not had good experiences in other sister circles. I am motivated to find more to join after the session. That is great, Martine. Hope you find more spaces. Florence says, Daphne Chapman, she's been like my mother. She succumbed to breast cancer 2 years ago. A shame. Sequoia says, I'm sharing because my age didn't make the cut. And Zona says, I promise you after graduation. Helen says, thank you for your heartfelt story of some of the impact Sister Circles has been on you. Veronica says the spirit of Colisa Dixon is remembered. And Laura says thus mushrooming of urgent centers. And I'm complete. Let's see, we have one more share. I think I missed it. Alrighty, Case Witness has her hand raised.
Yeah, please.
Grand Rising, peace and blessings. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, beautiful woman,
Thank you.
and wise woman, educated woman. I get excited when all of those components are together. I love it. I love it. So belonging is the word that triggered me just now. And I'm finding a rest, a solace in belonging. And so my body tends to want to hold hypertension, right? No matter what. Well, I'm not taking a real pill. I take a small dosage of something so that my major organs are not impacted. However, because I resist medication. But what I'm saying is I'm finding a solace in making myself available to other women of color. I live in a 55 plus development, and I see myself reaching out because it's interesting for me to find out how much people don't know, right? So if I have information, I can share that information. But then, as I'm sitting with them and dialoguing with them, connecting with them, I'm seeing how much people don't know. And I tend to assume that they know because they're a certain age. That is not true. So my sense of belonging and knowing that there's refuge in the belonging. It's what's driving me at this point and season of my life. So thank you for what you're doing. I took a picture, and I do know some people in that age range, so I definitely will share the information. So I'm a seasoned 65-year-old, so I'm not included in quite a few things. However, the things I am included in, I will partake in with excellence. So, again, thank you for all that you are doing. And with that, I'm complete.
You are so welcome, and your wisdom is valuable. So, like I said, like this is just for this part of the journey. It's going to be so much more. Like that's the beauty of being able to be in this program. I get to for the last 3 years, like this has literally been my focus. And it part of this is part one, like the raising of awareness, getting into peer-reviewed journals, being in spaces like this and sharing this information, which will generate additional studies and so on and so forth. But yes, there's definitely value, after 45 for sure. Like I'm 40, I'll be 47 in August, so I wouldn't even make the cut, right? But like it's we got to start from somewhere, right? And so this is level one. I see this as a lifetime of work, right? Like I also think about the trans Black woman experience, right? I'm not a trans Black woman, but I do think it's important to be able to amplify their stories, and learn what how Sister Circles um, um, support them in their experience. And even, younger, Black women below 19, girls, right? And there are limitations on what I could have done with the young people under 18. Like as a whole, it would take me forever to finish this program if I did that, just because of parental consents that would need to happen. But that is my plan, right? To make this a lifetime of my study. Shawnee, I do see your inquiry in the chat. Yes, like I do, it is, here's the thing, right? Like conflict is not unique to just Black women. And sometimes I think we will perpetuate things that get sensationalized in the news about who we are. Again, people telling us who we are in the world rather than us relying on the lived experiences of ourselves. I told you I got 7 sisters, right? Like we love hard, we also fight hard, right? So I learned conflict management like really early, right? But we've learned to not be combative, right? I do want to talk about just like the social, cultural, and political aspect that gets amplified when I hear Black women say like, no, I don't want to be in spaces with them. I can't talk to them. Like, everybody is harmful. Black women are this thing, and I'm like, how do we get generalized, right? The language that we use about ourselves is important here. And what I say to that is, um, you know, supremacy, patriarchy, colorism, like all of them, they are cousins to each other. That does harm to us on a daily basis. And yet we don't dismiss that. And so how do we make ourselves disposable, right? And so that's my question here, right? I'm not saying that it's not a challenge. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, right? There are many Black women that uh, I choose to not be in community with. It doesn't mean that I don't want them to win, right? Sometimes there's a differences in temperament. There are differences in in things that we like, right? Because we are not a monolith, right? There are what 44, 45 million Black women in this country. That means there are 44 million ways to be Black, right? There's not one way. And sometimes we'll gel with people and sometimes we won't. Again, I got seven sisters, y'all. I gel with some, more than others, right? And so I just want us to take that into context. And what I hope that people got from this space is that there is possibility for people to find, you know, the lid for your pot, if you will, to find your group of Black women that resonate with you, that support you at particular times in your lives, right? But also just honoring the trauma responses that we have to being in spaces with some of us, right? The flight, fight, freeze responses is real based on lived experiences. So yes, that is very real. And it is not impossible for us to find supportive spaces that resonate with us. So I hope that answered the question or the inquiry.
I think it did. Just going to read a couple of comments before we close out. It is 8:30, if
Yep.
I'm not mistaken. So thank you everyone for being here. Let me just read a couple of comments. Laura says, thanks, Auda. You've inspired me to chronicle my experiences cycling in sister circles. Cassandra says, division is too expensive and we ain't got that kind of budget. These times are calling for us to be in community and build outside of their failing systems. And Helen says, you got a beautiful name, Sauda. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so Sauda, how can everyone reach you?
All right, here it is. The screen is being pulled up. So I try to get on Facebook from time to time, but school, the struggle I chose keeps me from it. So I'll peek over there from time to time. The same thing with Instagram. That is my email address. The phone number at the top is the phone number that I use for the group practice that I work for. I mirror for her. I provide therapy to everybody, but a mirror for her is centered on Black women and our care and our well-being. But that is the number to reach me at. That is my email address. Those are my social media handles.
Awesome source. Alrighty. If you've been inspired by this session today, I know I feel really good. I feel really grounded and centered. If you feel inspired by this session, I encourage you to make a love offering. When you make a love offering, we're able to keep doing what we do. We're able to invite more people into the space and just give you this wonderful medicine because I believe this was some medicine for all of us today. So please use the code 1650 SKD, that is 1650 SKD, to give a love offering inspired by this session today. And speaking of love offerings, I encourage you to make a monthly automated love offering. Um, Pick a number that feels right to you, a number that you might even forget about, a number that you feel represents your appreciation for the space today and every day that you're in here with us. Use the QR code on the screen or bit.ly/love offerings and show us how much you love us. uh, Thank you so much for being here. Up next on Sunday, we have Prof. Marilyn with Sustainability in the Village of Abundance. Oh, this is my favorite topic. I love seeing Prof. Marilyn in this space, so I'm really excited to see you again. That is Sustainability in the Village of Abundance on Sunday, 14 June. Welcome to all the new faces and pretty faces in the space. Thank you for being here today. Thank you. If you're new, please drop an emoji in the chat. If not, if you haven't been here in a long time too, please let us know that you're back. Thank you for being here this morning. Thank you for being with us today. And to our Woo fam, tell your friends, your family, your neighbor, the lady at the shop, the lady around the corner, the guy somewhere there. I don't know. Tell everybody to come start their morning with us. This is the best way to start your morning. So continue to share it within your community, within your spaces. Thank you for being here with us today. And thank you for helping us grow. The more you share, the more we grow and the more people know. So please continue to share, 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 share. Alrighty. Are you interested in joining the Wake Up Everybody volunteer team? Put your talents and abilities to good use. Click the link and complete our volunteer interest form or email us at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com and one of our volunteer interest team members will contact you. If you want to up your tech skills and you just want to be a part of a cool sister circle, it might not be sisters because there's some males in the space as well. But yeah, if you want to be a part of a community, you want to learn something new, I encourage you to join the volunteer team. It's a great way to strengthen your tech muscle and also flex other muscles as well. It could be a great space for you to share your creative skills as well. So please, please, please join the volunteer team. Alrighty, here is our weekly schedule. We're on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 7 a.m. until 8:30 a.m. Those are our 90-minute sessions. And on Monday and Wednesday from 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Those are our 30-minute sessions. Text Boo Nation to 74121 so you don't miss out on any updates and you know who's going to be a facilitator for the day. That is 74121 at Woo Nation. And if you don't want to receive the text anymore, just text stop and we'll remove you off the contact list. But I'm pretty sure you might need the update, so just keep us on your contact list. Stay in touch with us. Sign up to our weekly newsletter so you know who your facilitators will be for the week. That is bit.ly/wake up movement. Sign up to our Facebook communities. The private community is bit.ly/Woo community. The public community is bit.ly/Woo Nation. Follow us on Instagram at Wake Up Everybody Virtual. And subscribe to our YouTube channel at bit.ly/YouTube so you don't miss out on any updates. No, so you can watch the replays. That's right. So you can watch the replays. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and contact us at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com if you want to join the volunteer team, if you have something cool and nice to say, if you have any suggestions as well, let us know. Email us at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. Alrighty, everyone. We have reached the end of our session today. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. We see you. Thank you, Soda, for being in this space. And everyone, can we turn our mics on so we can begin the love shower so we can show Soda our
Thank you,
appreciation?
Thank you,
Soda.
beloved
Thank
queen.
Thank you
you,
so
You
much,
are
Jesus, for
Sarita.
being
appreciated
here.
We
and
appreciate
valued.
you.
I
Thank
appreciate
you
Thank
so
your
you.
much
Thank you
and
for
wisdom, your
necessary and
this
knowledge,
relevant.
space,
your
all the teachers
love,
Thank
Appreciate
your
you,
you.
your
support,
Sending you
support.
in
See
hugs.
you walking
So
down
and
that
your
stage
beautiful,
with
so
long
beautiful
interest
beautiful.
in
graduates.
Confident in your
Congratulations in
bright
advance.
future. Thank you so much,
history.
sis.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Have a great day.
Your
Have a
face makes
wonderful
Stay
my
day.
beautiful.
day.
Nova.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
you, everybody.
Well, we love you.